Yeah guys, so let's get started with the series. So this is the first video. So here we'll be building the landing page. So firstly all you gotta do is create a new folder and then open the same thing with VS Code, and first create a file called index.html. So once you're done with that, you have to go again to the project folder structure and then create another folder called assets, where we'll be storing all the files which are CSS files, JS files, images, etc. So under assets file we create another folder called CSS, and under the same assets folder we create another folder called images, where we storing all the images. And for now I've taken up two images, which is the background image and another image which is basically we'll be using this image for the nav logo. I'll be saying exactly what I mean later in this video. So once you're done with that, we'll create another file called index.css under the CSS folder. Yeah, so once we are done with all this, we have set up the project folder structure. Yeah, so we'll be trying to build a portfolio similar to that. So firstly we'll go to Google and search Bootstrap. So after searching for Bootstrap, the first link which you get, you just have to click on that and click on get started, and here you just have to copy the starter template from them. So what is a starter template? Starter template is basically the CDN. It contains the Bootstrap CDNs through which you can use a Bootstrap framework. So that is all about the starter template, nothing much. And then you'll just simply change the title to what we are trying to build here. So it's my portfolio. I'll just change that to my portfolio site. So yeah, once done with that, I'll just show how a simple thing looks like, a simple HTML tag looks like, and then you just have to right click and do open live server. And yeah, you can see I wrote hey and the hey gets displayed there. Yeah, so now we'll just remove this and start working on the project. So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to components, and inside components we're going to go to navbar. Yeah, so under components we're going to go to navbar. So once you go to navbar, the first section which you get is navbar. So what is a navbar? Navbar is basically the top what do I say, the content section, probably where you can access all the contents from the one place. Is called a navbar. So you have to just copy that full code and paste it here. And once you're pasted, you just have to remove the other sections and name this home list as nav items. Like give it an ID called nav items. And once you're done with that, you just have to change the link to about. Okay, it's a spelling mistake which I'll be changing later. So yeah, so once you're done with that, you just have to copy paste this for the rest of the nav items. So secondly it is the, I guess, about. Yeah, so it's about, and then we have knowledge, so change it to knowledge, and even replace the ID with ID of knowledge. So why we're replacing this href with the ID of knowledge is that basically when you click on that particular card, like which will be creating later, it is going to direct you to this nav section. Like suppose if you click on the skill section, it's going to direct you to the skill section. If you click on about section, it's going to direct you to the about section. So this is why we're giving it an ID of skills, about, knowledge, etc. So now next we have the certification nav item. Similarly, I think the next one is, yeah, achievements, projects. So yeah, you just have to copy the nav items and just replace with the next objective that you want to show. Just copy paste the same thing. The last, I think, projects. And replace ID with projects. Yeah, and lastly we have the contact page. So you just have to change it to contact, the ID, and even the nav name to contact me. Yes, sir. Yeah, so change it to contact me, and once you're done with all this, you have to just click Control S to save this, and then you can just view this on the live server. So you don't have to reload anything. You just have to just press Control S, and then the live changes that you just did in this page will be reflected there without any reload. And then we just pick up a nav bar with the nav name and image. So that's what I'm doing here, picking up the image with its um, nav name and the image. So this is basically the image that you get just before the main nav name that you're going to give. So I have given port as a single color and folio as yellow color, and then under bootstrap thing we have this feature called uh, light, secondary, danger. So these are the colors. Basically danger gives you red, success gives you green, and so on. So here I'm trying to change the navbar color to danger, which is going to give you red color. And now we can see the image is not loaded, so we're just going to put the image from a local database. So we're going to replace with that, and we're going to link our CSS file. So we are doing that here. So make sure you give the path name properly, because if you are not doing the path name properly, the CSS that you write in this index.css page will not get reflected in the main page. So make sure you are linking the path properly. And VS Code is very smart. It basically gives you the automatic suggestions, so you can just use that instead of actually hard coding everything. So what I'm trying to do here is trying to bring the nav logo ID and trying to make some changes with respect to the image, the nav. So firstly I'll be setting the height to probably some 30 pixels, width to 30 pixels, and giving some border so that we have some difference between the image and the actual name. So 2 pixel of solid white. So this is how the syntax of border goes. Basically number of pixel is the thickness of the border, and solid means solid color that you want. You don't want it to be underlined, you don't want it to be dotted. So if you want a solid color, which means the full color will be displayed, and the color beside that will be written. So basically pixels, what type you want, and the color. So that's what I'm doing in the border syntax. And border radius is basically the radius that it gives you around the image. So suppose you're giving it 50%, it's going to become a circle. So that's what I'm trying to do there. And I'm going to call the nav items ID, which we just put there, to give it a color of white. Font weight is basically to increase the brightness of text. So I'm setting the font weight to 500. So once you're done with all this, we can see this changes reflected in the page. Yeah, and if you want to align the items to the right, now if you see the currently if you see the nav items are aligned to the left. So if you want to make the same thing to be aligned completely on the right, we just have to use this syntax under bootstrap, which is justify content end. So that is going to make all the items aligned to the right. So if you can see, so all the items are aligned to the right, and so the image part, we have to just give the ID. We have not given the ID. We'll give the ID called nav logo. So the changes that we just coded in the CSS will be reflected to the image as well. So yeah, we can see that the changes that we did in the image is reflected there. And yeah, about spelling, so that is fixed. So yeah, this is basically a decent navbar that is built up from bootstrap. So now we'll be moving on to the next section, where we'll be trying to add the background image and add that moving text animation. So for that we'll just um, create a section instead of a division. Because a section can basically divide the pages into each part, and we can code it on whichever objective we need, we can just code it under that section. So I'm just creating a section, which is the inbuilt function in HTML, as you know. and we're going to assign it a class of home, id as home, and inside that we just create another division where we'll be creating the text which we just saw in our portfolio. So inside the division we'll give a class text1, inside which we're going to write hello, my name is. So basically we have two things called class and id. So class is when you want to specifically assign that particular element something, and id is when you want to assign multiple things some same css. So when you want to assign multiple things to the particular element, then use an id. So if you want that particular style to be applied only to that particular element, then use class. So there's a difference between class and id in web development or in html basically. So yeah, so first division which I created was text1, text2 is my name, and the last division we are going to create that moving text animation which is going to describe my interest. So for that we just create a span class basically used to assign the element inline to the previous stuff that we have written. So and I am a, and whatever you write will come in the same line, not in the next line. So that's why we use span. Now we're going to write the script to display that animation text. This is done using jQuery. So we're going to use a typed function here in this case, which is jQuery's built-in function to use the animation purpose. So we're going to declare a variable called typed, inside of which we're going to write this type function, call the class which we have given, that's typing with dot typing. So how do you bring a class? So when we want to refer to a class, we refer by dot, and if we have to refer to an id, we refer by hash symbol. So here, since I've named it as a class typing, I'm going to bring this as dot typing. So if it was an id, we were going to call as hash typing, but since this is a class, we're going to use dot. So then we try to store the strings. Suppose I'm trying to say I have interest in web development, web programming, and coding. So I can just say that I'm a web developer, I'm a web programmer, and a coder. You can just put in anything that you want to show up, and it can be anything. It's not limited to only 3. It can be any number of strings that you want to append it to. And type speed is basically how fast you want to make it type. So I'm going to just assign that to 100 in this case. And back speed is once you type and it just backspace everything, right? So that speed is called backspace, which I'm assigning it to 60. And then loop is true, so you're going to loop this infinite number of times. That's why you have set the loop to true. So once we have done this, we just have to save and look for the changes in the live server. So the change is not reflected because we have to import this jQuery CDN. So we have a CDN called typed, so we have to import that. So it's not under this. For now we'll just copy the jQuery library CDN. So we just copy that, and so all the links that you copy, basically CDNs, you're going to paste it inside the head tag. So that's what I'm trying to do here. And now we'll search for the typed JS jQuery CDN. So I think it must be present under this. Yeah, so just copy that link and we paste it below this link. So once you paste this, I guess it should be working now. Yeah, so we can see the moving test animation is working. Okay, now we just have to align this properly. So in order to do that, we go to index.css, then we start coding the home class. So I refer to the class by dot home, inside of which we'll be first bringing the background image by doing display as flex. So flex, how do I say, it's like a way to display things. So we are using flex basically. If you want to make things responsive in CS only, then we use flex. So then we bring the background image you can just pick any background image or something which won't hide the text, and then we are making the background size cover, so it's going to simply cover the entire page. And position, we're going to align it to center and center. So first center means x-axis and the second center means y-axis. So center means we're going to make it align particular to the center of the page. Okay. And height is height of the image, so we're going to just set it to 100 vh. Vh is like something like pixels, so it's a different unit which we are going to give in CSS. The color we want to assign white, and background attachment is fixed. So what happens when you make the attachment fixed is that when you scroll, the image will be fixed only to that particular section and it won't be reflected in the other sections as well. So that is what is fixed. And backdrop filter is blur. So if you want to make the background image to be a little bit blur, then use a blur feature. So yeah, as you can see, the image is being blurred and it's fixed completely to the center of the page. So now we'll be coding the section part. So section will be padding. Padding is basically the inner margin and margin is outer margin. Simple words, padding is basically the inner space. So if you want to give some inner space, then we use padding, and margin is the outer space. Outside the section, if you want to give a space, then we use margin. So as you can see, it's not properly aligned. So we'll just try to make each one of them a single line, like each one of them to be on a single line. So for this, we shall create a class, and probably a different class with max width, and then store all of them inside of that. So while doing this, I think everything should reflect on a single line. Yeah, so basically what I'm trying to do is create a division and then store all of these items inside a division. So when you do that, all of this things that you have written, like hello, my name, will be in a single line, Karthik is in a single line, and I am will be in a single line. So now we'll try to change section to 200 pixels and see what happens. Oh yeah, it looks much better now. So now I'll be trying to design the text 1, text 2 and text 3. So firstly, font size, we'll keep it to 40 pixels. Then I think we'll probably go for font weight to make it more brighter. Yeah, so this looks good. And so as I said, font weight to bolder or bold, something which is to your convenience. And now if you want to use different fonts, then we have to use Google Fonts. So you have to just search for Google Fonts, and the first link that you get, you just have to click on that. So once you click on that, you just have to search for your interested font. So in this case, if I click on Roboto, is Roboto is one such font which is good. So you can just choose your style, select the style, and then copy the links on the right side. Yeah, so once you do that, you just have to copy their import links and then paste it in your head section of the HTML file. So paste it below that, and then you have to copy their font family style, copy it and paste it inside where you want to apply the text to. So suppose if I want to apply this style to this font to the entire section of that thing which we created, then you can just put it inside the section part as well. So now we are going to code the text 2 part. So text 2, I think we shall reduce the font size a little, maybe increase to see. Yeah, so let our name be a little bit bigger, probably 60 pixel. Now we'll try to code the text 3. Yeah, so text 3, we'll just assign a class to it, text 3, and only for that particular moving text or the interest that we want to show, we'll just assign a different color. so that it looks different from the others. And coding this text 3, we set the font size to 40 pixel. Yeah, it looks better now. So any color you want to change, you can just choose your own color, and even the speed you can just keep it anything to yourself, and probably reduce the brightness of text because bolder looks too bold, so I'll just keep it to bold. Yeah, much better now. So this is a landing page that we have designed. So let's see what all further changes we can make compared to our personal portfolio. So yeah, we have built something similar to this.